Alright guys, I think we're live. Here we go. There is a lot of stuff happening in the market now. This is why I love doing this. This is why we like it, guys. Stuff is popping off. There is fun to be had. So check it out. Check out the heat map. Things are green. Nvidia's up 3.37%. Apple is up 0.65%. Amazon, a little bit trading even, only up 0.06%. Google is up 2.03%. Microsoft is down 2.57%. Meta is up 1.74%. And Tesla is up 3.16%. Couple others we could think about. Eli Lilly up 3.6%. What is that? Oh, AMD. Nice. AMD's up 7.59% today. Look at that. Well, let's refresh just to be sure. Look at that. Wow. Stocks are moving. They are moving. And we will see what happens. So, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 89,000. Actually, I want to go to, yeah, there we go. Okay. So we got Ethereum. We got Ethereum at 3,018. $3,000.18. Or not, $3,018.97. Up 2.31% on the day. Very interesting stuff. Let's have a look at the Qs. Investco, QQQ Trust, up 1.37%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, up 1.21%. Alright, so let's have a look at our notes. We got some notes today, guys. I took these notes last night and they changed before I've even had a chance to get to them. So, like I said, a lot of fun stuff. This is why I like messing with the stock market. It's just, you know, you could keep up with sports, you could keep up with, you know, whatever else. But there's something about it. There's just, something's always happening. Something new, something fun. Oops. I'm going to see if my stream's working right. Give me 1 second here, guys. We'll just leave the S&P there for a moment. Okay. Sorry, guys. Like I said, there's a lot going on right now. Looking at polymarket earlier, I saw some really interesting stuff. Some really wacky stuff. And we'll take a look at that here in just a second. Oh, I think we found it. Nice. Alright. I think I've done it. Sorry about all that. Let's get back to business. So, we got Bitcoin trading at 90,000 right now. Other stocks and stuff are moving up. Bitcoin's lost some of its gains. That's what's happened here over the last few days. But now, maybe it's starting to turn it around. You never know. Guys, remember, this is never financial advice. I'm literally talking to myself in my side room. So, think about that. Alright? Think about that. So, yeah, Bitcoin's at 90,000. It had went all the way back down to 87 there for on the 21st. Or earlier today, the 21st. I'm tripping. What am I even saying? I'm so excited, you know? Alright. But for real though, let's slow it down. Let's take a little look here. So, Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, he has decided to put off the tariffs for now. So that's probably what's got the markets kind of moving more in an upward direction. That's giving people a little more, just a little more breathing room. They're not so worried about that kind of stuff for the next little bit. Who knows what'll happen, you know. The thing about him, or Donald Trump, the thing about it is he really cares about the stock market. He kind of like, if the stock market's doing bad, he feels like he's doing bad. You can see that. I'm not like a political guy, but I'm worried about, I worry about making money and stuff. You know, that's what this whole channel is about. And you got to think about that stuff. It has to be kind of in your mind. So, yeah. Yes. So, the Dow Jones is up 1.15%. Let's check out some of the Mag 7 stocks. NVIDIA. NVIDIA is at 183. Okay? It's up 3.24% on the day. Over the past 5 days, it's down 2.6%. Now look at that. Over the past 5 years, NVIDIA is up 1,241%. Over the past year, it's up 30%. And year to date, it's down 1.45%. Look at that. So we'll look at, to me, the top 3 of the Mag 7. We'll look at NVIDIA, Google, and Meta. So here's Google. Alphabet Incorporated, Class C. I think this is the one that normally people trade. There's this one and there's the other one. I think they would go right at the same price. So, Google's at 328, up 1.92% on the day. Over the past 5 days, it's down 2%. Year to date, it's up 4.6%. Over the past 5 years, Google is up 245%. Okay? Over the past 1 year, it's seen the most success, I believe, out of all the Mag 7 at 64%. It's up 64% over the past year. Google. Now look at the let's have a look at some of its other stats down here. So the PE ratio on Google is 32.8. with an EPS of $10. I think that puts its EPS at probably the highest of the Mag 7. Let's see this. Okay. Which of the Mag 7 stocks has the highest EPS? Oh, it's Meta. Look at that. Tells you what I know. At $21. Is that right? Let's see. Meta is sitting at $612, up 1.35% on the day. It's been going down. Meta was sitting around like 660, 670 there, or 650, something like that, there for a little while. And it's been going down over the past month or so. See, look at the month. Down 7.46% on the month. Down 14% in the last 6 months. See? See what I'm saying? What do you guys think is going to happen? You think Meta's going to go down to zero? I mean, come on. Like, it's down 7% year to date. For me, under 650, I'm liking. I'm looking and I'm liking. Over the past 5 years, Meta's up 123%. Okay. Look at the EPS. $22.60. So out of the Mag 7, it is the highest. That's according to Gemini, and we just saw it there on Google Finance. The 52-week high on Meta is $796. Now, what was that? Yeah, so I guess last year it was up quite a bit, and it's been going down a little bit since then. Look at that. Let's have another look at the heat map. See what's going on live right now, right here. If anything special is happening. It's 3:59 in the afternoon, guys. We've got Nvidia at up 3% on the day. Microsoft down 2.36% on the day. Google up 1.98%. Tesla up 2.84%. Walmart. Home Depot's up 2.5%. Interesting. Caterpillar's up. Let's get back to business here. Let's look at polymarket. Alright. Very cool. Very nice. We got some fun stuff. Will Trump acquire Greenland before 2027? We've got less of a chance now than we did. 15%. Who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Kevin Warsh, Rick Rader. Kevin Warsh is at 53%. Okay. Kevin Warsh. Does anybody know anything about this guy? At one point, Kevin Hassett was up to 85%. Now we've got Kevin Warsh at 55% as possible next Fed chair. Let's have a look and just ask Gemini who Kevin Warsh is. Kevin Warsh. Alright. Kevin Warsh is an American financier and former central banker who is currently the frontrunner to become the next chairman of the Federal Reserve in May 2026. As of late January 2026, prediction markets and political analysts have positioned him as the most likely successor to Jerome Powell, following signals from President Trump that other top contenders may remain in their current White House roles. Professional background. Federal Reserve Board of Governors from 2006 to 2011, appointed by George W. Bush. Warsh was the youngest person ever appointed to the board at age 35. He became a key advisor to Chairman Ben Bernanke during the 2008 financial crisis, serving as the Fed's primary liaison to Wall Street and its representative to the G20. He was on the White House Economic Council from 2002 to 2006. In the private sector, before his public service, he was an executive director at Morgan Stanley. This is Kevin Warsh we're talking about, the guy who might end up being the Fed chairman. 55% chance on polymarket, I believe it was, they said. Yeah. His academic roles. He is the Shepherd Family Distinguished Visiting Fellow in Economics at Stanford University Hoover Institution, and a lecturer at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. I guess here's some of the important stuff. His economic views and 2026 candidacy. You can assume if Donald Trump's gonna... This is not written on the page. This is me talking now. This is kind of more my opinion. Guys, remember, this is never financial advice. I'm just talking to myself, really. Thinking out loud. We're learning together. If Trump's going to appoint him, this guy's going to pretty much be a guy who's more willing to do what Trump's going to want him to do. I mean, this is not like good or bad stuff. This is just kind of the job of these people to make what they want to make happen. So, yeah. And as, you know, when it comes to the stock market and stuff, I would say Trump's going to do his best to make the stock market rise. You know, whether that helps you out as an individual is another story. Warsh is generally viewed by markets as a hawkish but pragmatic economist. We're back to Gemini now. His current platform and policy ideas include pragmatic monetarism, a strategy focusing on shrinking the Fed's balance sheet, quantitative tightening to lower the cost of debt while potentially allowing for interest rate cuts. Okay. A strategy focusing on shrinking the Fed's balance sheet, quantitative tightening to lower the cost of debt while potentially allowing for interest rate cuts. That seems oxymoronic. As far as I know, the Fed, I don't think they can do much besides cut. And that would be QE, right? I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm not, though. Balance sheet reduction. He has been a vocal critic of the printing press era and argues for a clearer separation between the Treasury's spending and the Fed's monetary management. Market signals. He favors using real-world market signals. He favors using real-world market signals like bond yields and commodity prices to guide policy rather than relying strictly on internal economic models. Inflation target. He remains a staunch advocate for a strict 2% or lower inflation target. Following a public hint from President Trump on January 16, 2026, expressing a desire to keep rival candidate Kevin Hassett at the National Economic Council, Warsh's odds for the Fed chairman surged to approximately 60% on prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi. Okay. Quantitative. I'm not the best speller, guys. I'm trying to type as quickly as I can. Sorry. It's not what they pay me for. I'm not going to read all this. I just want to know. Okay. Here we go. We'll read it. Quantitative tightening is a stealth monetary policy used by central banks to reduce the amount of money circulating in the economy. It is the direct opposite of quantitative easing, obviously. As of early 2026, the Federal Reserve has recently shifted away from aggressive QT, making it a major topic for the incoming Fed leadership. How it works. When the Fed wants to stimulate the economy, QE, quantitative easing is to stimulate the economy, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Though they would be cutting rates in my mind. When the Fed wants to stimulate the economy, QE, it buys trillions of dollars in government bonds, effectively printing money and injecting it into the banking system. When it wants to cool inflation or normalize its footprint, it performs quantitative tightening. It raises the rate, so that makes it more difficult to gain the liquidity, the money that you need to do stuff. Passive runoff. The Fed owns billions in maturing bonds. Instead of taking the cash it receives from the Treasury and buying new bonds. It simply lets the bonds expire. Okay. Okay. So the Fed owns millions of maturing bonds. Instead of taking the cash it receives from the Treasury and buying new bonds, it simply lets the bonds expire. Okay, so it also has a lot of mess with the bond market. That makes sense to me. All right. Removing liquidity. This forces the government to find new private buyers for its debt. This pulls excessive cash out of the private sector and back into the Treasury Fed, effectively shrinking the total money supply. All right. That's easy enough. Balance sheet shrinkage. The primary goal is to reduce the size of the Fed's balance sheet, the total value of assets it holds. The impact on you. While interest rate hikes, the Fed funds rate, are the loud way to fight inflation, QT is the quiet way, quantitative tightening. Its effects are felt across the market. Higher long-term rates. QT typically puts upward pressure on 10-year Treasury yields, which directly influences mortgage rates and corporate borrowing costs. Stock market pressure. Less easy money in the system often leads to lower valuations for risky assets like tech stocks and crypto. So when QT's on, you can say it's like a less risk on situation. That makes sense. The current state. January 2026. The Fed officially concluded its most recent QT program on December 1st, 2025. Final tally. The Fed successfully removed nearly $2.5 trillion from the financial system since 2022, bringing its balance sheet down from a peak of $9 trillion to roughly $6.6 trillion. I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me. I thought they were just going to keep raising it forever, you know what I mean? I don't know. Current phase. We are now in a reserve management regime. Instead of shrinking the balance sheet further, the Fed has now purchased about $40 to $45 billion in short-term Treasury bills per month. The why. This isn't meant to stimulate the economy like QE, but rather to keep pace with the natural growth of the U.S. economy and ensure banks have enough cash to prevent a repeat of the 2019 repo market crisis. I remember that. That was pretty interesting stuff. Kind of thinking about like, what was that bank they ended up shutting down or whatever. It was pretty crazy. People got a little freaked out over that. For sure. Quick comparison, QE versus QT. In QE, the Fed buys bonds. In QT, the Fed lets bonds mature or expire. In QE, the Fed increases money supply. It sounds silly to read this, but I guess I don't know, as I'm learning as I go, sort of in a way. I mean, I guess I knew this stuff, but as I'm reading it, it's like, okay, this makes more sense. QE. QT decreases the money supply. So when they're tightening, they're making less money out there to be had generally. The goal, to stimulate growth, fight deflation. That's QE. QT would be to fight inflation, normalize markets. Okay, so they've been tightening because of the inflation and stuff. Yeah. Market effect, lower rates, higher stock prices. The quantitative tightening effect, higher rates, tighter conditions. Alright. And this guy, Kevin Warsh, what's he say? Shrinks the Fed. He wants to shrink the Fed balance sheet. Yeah, of course. He wants to do it all. He wants to do whatever he can do. Of course. All right. He wants to do whatever Donald Trump's going to tell him to do, I'd imagine. That's probably what's the big play here. So, let's have a look at some other stocks. We've got nothing's really changing on the heat map. Everything's the same. What the heck? There we go. Yeah, I wanted to see like a yeah, I want to see like something about the Davos thing that happened today. Is this a video or can I read this? I would rather read it if I'm being honest. Well, that was 2 days ago. Here we go. Yeah, fun stuff, guys. So I saw on Polymarket also they were talking about is the United States going to like say that there's aliens or not? What do you guys think about that? If anybody's ever watches this, will that be what was revealing that there was aliens? Okay, well, this is not what I'm looking for, guys. Don't you do it. I gotta sit here and wait for a second. I think this is gonna play some videos I don't want to see. Okay, nice. Cool. There we go. Let's just read this real quick. What to know today. This is on NBC News. Get this out of my face. In the future, guys, maybe we'll do some those little videos like that, but right now, I don't know what I'm doing too much. I'm just getting started out. I don't want to get flagged or something like that. I want to keep it safe. We'll just read it out loud right now. How about that? Greenland tariffs. President Donald Trump said that he will not move forward with tariffs on 8 European countries for not supporting his push to take over Greenland. Following a conversation with the NATO Secretary General about a future deal regarding the territory in the Arctic, earlier today, the European Parliament halted the implementation of a negotiated trade deal with Trump over the threats. Davos remarks. Trump said in his speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, that he won't use force to seize Greenland, but added that the U.S. would be unstoppable if it did. The president also called for immediate negotiations on his proposal that the U.S. acquire the Danish territory. Okay, so this is nothing new. He's still just kind of going back and forth on it. But the fact that he kind of chilled out is probably what's, helping the market. Federal Reserve decision. The Supreme Court today appeared unlikely to greenlight Trump's attempt to oust Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook, a case with huge ramifications for the economy and structure of government. Maxwell deposition. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, Representative, or maybe Republican of Kentucky, Representative of Kentucky, I'm not sure, said his panel will depose Ghislaine Maxwell next month as part of its investigation into the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell's lawyer has told Comer she will invoke her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Okay, we're getting into some wacky stuff here, guys. So yeah, Trump said he's not going to use force on Greenland. Less than 6 hours ago, or 6 hours ago, about 1 hour ago. Okay. This is about Aaron Pellish. Aaron Pellish wrote this. President Donald Trump said he's reached an agreement with NATO on a Greenland framework and will be imposing planned tariffs on European allies. The president said in a social media post the deal will be a great one for both the U.S. and NATO allies, but did not elaborate on the details of the agreement with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Let's go ahead and pop it open. There we go. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st, Trump wrote. The deal eases tensions over control of Greenland. Thank God. Greenland, which Trump has aggressively sought to wrest control from Denmark while citing national security concerns. Trump said discussion around a missile defense system pertaining to Greenland are part of the negotiations which will be led by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. These guys. Prior to his trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Trump had threatened new tariffs on 8 European nations, including Denmark and major NATO allies, like the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. At the time, the president said the tariffs would be in effect until a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Trump had dangled the possibility of using military force to annex the Danish territory and was exploring a range of options that included military action to take control of Greenland earlier in January. But in a speech at Davos on Wednesday, Trump ruled out the use of military action. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be frankly unstoppable. But I won't do that, okay? This guy. This is wild stuff, dude. Trump said in the speech, "We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be frankly unstoppable, but I won't do that, okay?" Jeez. The U.S. campaign to take control of Greenland has... Alright. The U.S. campaign to take control of Greenland has been met with unusually strong resistance from European allies who have insisted that Greenland's geographic significance in defending the Arctic is critical to NATO member states and should be controlled in coordination with NATO. I guess if anybody ever watches this, let me know your opinions on this stuff. Let me know what you think. You think America should just take over NATO? Or not NATO, Greenland? What do you think? I don't know. I live in America. I don't know what I think. It's tough to say on that one. If somebody ever asks me, I'll think about it harder, but I don't need to worry about it too much. We'll just see what happens, and that's why we do this. We react. We see what happens. See what's happening. European allies had been threatening strong responses to the looming tariffs. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said said on Wednesday the EU is fully prepared to act in retaliation to the tariffs. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, said he will not yield over Greenland, despite the threat of tariffs. A spokesperson for the Danish embassy in the U.S. did not immediately respond to a request for comment. If a panel at Davos on Wednesday said NATO nations should be happy with Trump's role in reshuffling NATO, a security alliance he has sharply criticized dating back to his first term in office. Root acknowledged that his embrace of Trump is not popular with European nations. I bet. Some Republicans on Capitol Hill have been increasingly vocal in their opposition to U.S. control of Greenland. A bipartisan congressional delegation met with Danish officials in Denmark last week, and some Republicans had floated the possibility of withholding appropriations to prevent Trump from taking further action in Greenland. Interesting. Interesting stuff. I mean, the markets are rising. The stuff is churning. There we go. Mostly a green day. AMD up 7.7% on the day. Let's have a look at AMD. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. Today it's up 7%, 7.7%. About $17. Over the past 5 days, it's up 6%. Over the past month, it's up 16%. Over the past 6 months, AMD's up 59%, $92. Year to date, 16%. Over the past year, it's up 104%. And over the past 5 years, it's only up 169% as compared to 1 year. So that's kind of interesting. Something to think about. AMD kind of look, if you're looking at the chart here, you might be able to see my mouse moving around. It kind of gets, it has these ups and downs. It'll be up at, we got all the way up to like 155, then came all the way down to $55 in October of 2022. Probably got a little lower than that, but we're on 5-year chart here. AMD has an EPS of $2.02 a share, a PE ratio of $123 a share. Very interesting. One hour ago. Let's read something on AMD. I don't know where to look at AMD. If I'm being honest, now that I'm sitting here looking at it, just those statistics to me, I like NVIDIA. I like NVIDIA better. I like NVIDIA better. I like Meta better. Google I like way better. But maybe there's stuff about AMD that I don't know. There definitely is. I don't know anything about AMD, really. Not really. So, what do we know about anything? You know what I mean? What does anybody know? So, here we go. Why AMD stocks just rocketed to its longest winning streak in nearly a year. Analysts are increasingly upbeat about AMD's momentum with central processing units for AI data centers. So before we even read this, AMD, the PE ratio is $123.45 a share. Alright? And the EPS is $2.02 a share. Okay? NVIDIA does, I'm pretty sure NVIDIA and AMD are direct competitors. And we just looked at NVIDIA earlier, and it's much cheaper on these statistics. Now, not to say that it's not going to grow. AMD's not going to grow at a faster clip for whatever reason. That's just something that I would like to think about. Never take this as investing advice, financial advice, or anything like that. I'm just sitting here talking to myself. I'm learning as we go. I am learning as we go. But I say all this to say, you would imagine that NVIDIA would have more upside. Like, if AMD skyrockets, how extended is this PE ratio going to get, man? If it goes up another 50%, what's that EPS going to look like? You know what I mean? As compared to the Mag 7, with their stocks. I mean, it's not to say it's just like I said, like it's not to say it won't go up or whatever, but like I'm just looking and I don't know. I don't know about that. So here we go. It's up 7% on the day though. But honestly, that's not how it works, anyways. You know what I mean? It's all about more like a sentiment kind of deal. So, like, people could let this thing get extended to a 200 PE ratio or whatever. You never know. I mean, you never know what could happen. Let's read the article. Quit messing around. This is an article by Brittany Wynn. Article by Brittany Wynn. Advanced Micro Devices shares extended their rally into a seventh session as optimism builds for the company's business of selling central processing units for artificial intelligence servers. When the chip maker announces fourth quarter earnings results next month, key bank analyst John Vinn said he's expecting a revenue beat and higher guidance, mostly driven by strong demand for AMD's server CPUs, noting the last generation Turin data center CPU. Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure their hardware just the same as Nvidia. They make the actual chips themselves. AMD up 7.1% is close to being sold out of its server CPUs for the year, Vinn said in a note late Tuesday, and the company could raise average sales price by 10% to 15% as hyperscalers clamor to lock in capacity. In a note earlier this month, Vinn said AMD's server CPU segment could grow at least 50% this year, driven by strong demand for its server chips, which are essential for AI data centers. Okay. I guess that's it. All right. Bernstein analyst Stacy Rasgon lifted his revenue estimates for AMD's fourth quarter in a note on Wednesday, partly due to a more upbeat view of the company's server momentum. Raskin is also modeling that sales of AMD's EPYC processors, which include the fifth generation Turin CPU, will grow 30% this year. Shares of AMD rose nearly 8% on Wednesday. The stock logged its seventh straight day of gains, its longest winning streak since February 19, 2025, according to Dow Jones market data. Even with that rally, Vinn says Wall Street still has a mixed view of AMD due to uncertainties over how competitive its graphic processing units will be compared to Nvidia's. Bulls are encouraged by AMD's progress in competing with Nvidia in AI and strong server CPU, Vinn said. Bearish investors, on the other hand, are still skeptical over whether AMD will be able to meet volume and performance expectations with its GPUs. When AMD reports earnings, Vinn said, investors will be listening to commentary on the production timeline for its first rack scale solution, Helios, and the accompanying Instinct M1455 series GPUs, and for updates on customers for those offerings. The focus will also be on any updated expectations for AI revenue and what the company says about the supply and demand dynamics for its traditional server chips, Vinn added. AMD at least has an agreement with OpenAI for its Helios rack starting in the second half of this year, Raskin said, but the AI startup is so far the only major customer. Is that right? OpenAI is the only major customer. I'll tell you this. I think OpenAI is like the least relevant of the major AI companies here. And in my opinion, this is only my opinion. This is not advice. I'm just sitting here talking to myself in my room. But seriously, there's a lot going on in the markets right now, guys. It's a lot of fun. Let's go back. So we've had a little look at AMD, a little look at Nvidia and stuff. Kind of did a little comparison. Okay. Let's look at gold. Just have a look at gold. $4,838. Over the past 5 years, gold's up 160%. Over the past 1 year, it's up 75%. It's up 42% over the past 6 months. Gold, it's always been here. Now, how does that work? The maximum I'm allowed to look at. It says it's only up 178%. That's kind of silly. Let's look over here. Let's look at let's look at this. I don't even know what we're looking at. The GC Woo. Oh my goodness, that's the thing about oh, that's why. It would be like a future. Maybe let's just go to all. There we go. Yeah, I'm not that used to this one. I ain't gonna lie. Trading View. And plus, I'm still pretty new to this whole streaming thing. So like, sometimes I'll just be like kind of freaking out. I'll see something. It's not really. Like, I'll be looking at it and be like, what am I even looking at here? But we'll get used to that. Give me a year or so and we'll be high quality stuff. So, gold's at $4,835 an ounce. Look at that. Look at that. Silver's at $93. Look, it's going up still. No, it's down a little. It's, who knows? But it's up there. It's going. I have a little coin that I like to talk about. I always say when I got it, it was worth like $10. Now it's worth like $40 or something. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. One more look at the heat map here, guys. Oracle. Oracle's down 3%, 3.36% on the day. Netflix is down 2.18% on their earnings. Let's have a look at Netflix's. Let's have a look at Netflix because they just released their earnings yesterday, I believe. Okay. Netflix. So Netflix got up to. They have a 52-week high of $134, 52-week low of $81.93. They might be setting that low right here, right now. No, they're at 85. But they're not doing so hot off of their earnings. Look at that big drop on the past 5 days. So they went triggers, nice and straight. Fell down. A nice drop for you. Well, that's like a loss of like 5%. Interesting. What do you guys think of Netflix here at this $85 price range? Do you think this is a good deal? A good buy? Let's have a look at their stats. Compare it to AMD. I mean, my goodness. Compare it to AMD. PE ratio of 35. EPS of $2.39. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? I don't know. I mean, me personally, I don't know. I don't prefer the stocks with the big extended PE ratios. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe I'll learn more in the future, and that'll be like something I'll start to mess with more. But no, I like a Meta. I like a Nvidia. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get back to Netflix. 25 minutes ago. Acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery as strategic accelerant. What is this? Okay, here we go. Source is Benzinga, written by Emily J. Thompson, Senior Investment Analyst. Strategic acquisition. Netflix is advancing its acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery with co-CEO Ted Sarandos, describing it as a strategic accelerant expected to enhance the company's core mission despite a 3.13% stock decline to $84.53, indicating market caution regarding the deal. What do you guys think about that deal? Acquiring Warner Brothers? Live event expansion. Having executed over 200 live events, co-CEO Greg Peters emphasized that live programming can deliver outsized value for both members and advertisers, with plans of global expansion, including the World Baseball Classic in Japan. Okay, so they're going to try to get some live events going. That's kind of interesting. I know they had a few boxing matches and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. And if I'm being honest, for those boxing matches, I did resubscribe to Netflix. So that's an interesting thing, I guess. Kind of fun. Kind of anecdotal. Back to the article. Content diversification. The company announced the launch of video podcasts, which Sarandos described as a modern talk show experience generating passionate engagement, while simultaneously scaling its cloud-first game strategy to make TV-based games more accessible, expected to enhance user retention. Yeah, I've seen some games on Netflix. That's kind of funny, kind of weird. Now they're gonna start putting podcasts and stuff on there. Maybe someday you'll see us on Netflix, guys. Who knows? Your cousin Dustin coming to Netflix. Financial outlook. CFO Spencer Newman projected 2026 revenue at $51 billion, a 14% year-over-year increase driven by membership, pricing, and a projected doubling of ad revenue to add $3 billion, indicating sustained growth even as the company integrates Warner Brothers Discovery. Have a look at that. Analyst views on Netflix. Wall Street analysts forecast Netflix stock price to rise over the next 12 months. According to Wall Street analysts, the average one-year price target for Netflix is $129.47, with a low forecast of $92 and a high forecast of $152. However, analyst price targets are subject and often lag stock prices, so investors should focus on the objective reasons behind analysts' ratings changes, which better reflect the company's fundamentals. So they've got it at a moderate buy. I don't know. What do you guys think about Netflix? Netflix is not really something I'm interested in right now. Alright, guys. I guess if there was people watching, I'd open it up to like some questions or comments or concerns or whatever. But maybe someday we'll get some people to watch. For now, we're doing fine. We're checking the heat map. We're going through the thing here. I think we're doing pretty good. Let's go over polymarket one more time. There we go. They got the Qs sitting at... Got the Qs up 1.35%, sitting at 616. Bitcoin's at 90,000. Recovering a little bit. Nice Bitcoin. Alright, let's get back to polymarket a little bit. Just to go through the polymarket. Will Google finish the week of January 19th above 305 or 310? Place your bets, boys. Apple, up or down on January 21st? 100%. Look at that. A Trump-Denmark-Greenland deal signed by March 31st. 44%. A 44% chance of that. That's wild, ain't it? Khamenei out as supreme leader of Iran by February 28th. 17%. It was much higher. It was much higher. Let's keep going. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? A 10% chance. My goodness. This is what we came to see. Holy crap. What the heck? This is crazy. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? Rules. The market will resolve to yes if the President of the United States, any member of the Cabinet of the United States, any member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or any U.S. federal agency definitively states that extraterrestrial life or technology exists by December 31st, 2026, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Otherwise, this market will resolve to no. Okay. Wow. Look at that. That's crazy. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? Polymarket. 10% chance. Up 2% in the past. It has been up as high as 13%. No, it has been up as high as... It's been up as high as 15%. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? Wow. It's been up at least as high as 15% chance. Now we're at sitting at 10%. Alright, guys. I think that's enough for today. Yeah. What do you guys think? Leave a comment. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? It's been up as high as 15%. Now we're sitting at 10%. Yeah. Will the market crash if aliens exist? Wow. Who knows? Who knows? I think that's enough.